A menacing figure emerges from the fog, striding across the low-poly blocky terrain. He moves with unnatural speed towards me, arms outstretched. At first glance, he almost seems like a default player skin, the classic Steve, with those eyes, gray, soulless, a dead man's stare. The name above his head confirms it. Herobrine. He lunges, his death grip inches from me. I slam the Foundation terminal's kill switch. The screen cuts to black, leaving me alone with my racing heartbeat, the sweat on my skin, and the memory of those eyes. I remember my supervisor saying, "Good work, Junior Researcher Bob. Impressive reflexes. But we need you back in there before anybody else gets hurt." Believe it or not, back in the late 2000s and early 2010s, this was how I spent some of my first years at the SCP Foundation. Since the internet exploded worldwide, the SCP Foundation Cyber Anomalies Division has been working overtime. Turns out, connecting most of planet Earth wirelessly leads to a lot of negative anomalous mojo getting supercharged too. And nobody knows this better than someone playing Minecraft. To the untrained eye, Minecraft would seem perfectly harmless. This sandbox block-building game, known for its charming aesthetic, endless creativity, and superb soundtrack, feels like the furthest thing from the kind of anomalous nightmares I usually share on this channel. But any actual Minecraft player would immediately tell you that you're wrong. Dead wrong. Ever since the game's public alpha dropped back in May 17, 2009, Minecraft's many servers have been an extraordinary hub of anomalous activity. Something about the mix of deep player emotional investment and the procedurally generated nature of the world gives Minecraft its own psychosphere. This has given rise to many strange and disturbing events that have caught the attention of the SCP Foundation over the years. But back then, even I, as a junior researcher, had no idea that the horrors could follow me out of the game. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. During my days researching anomalies in Minecraft, days that would forever ruin my enjoyment of the game, I encountered the truth behind several terrifying myths that have plagued the community for over a decade now. And it only makes sense that we begin with my encounter with Herobrine. If you've clicked on this, chances are you're already familiar with this elusive Minecraft monster. It began appearing in empty servers as early as the first Minecraft beta, modifying player constructions and creating a general sense of unease. I encountered Herobrine several times during my earliest explorations of the game under the Foundation's command, and every time it escaped into the mist, save for the one time it attempted to attack me. Perhaps the most famous encounter with the Herobrine entity was the legendary 2010 Copeland stream. The Foundation was able to keep this incident under wraps until its eventual leak in 2024. The YouTuber's frightening encounter with this digital ghost is the stuff of nightmares, and it reminded me of my own close calls. Perhaps the most frightening detail was a file uncovered during the stream that has since forever been associated with the Herobrine myth. Well, the myth part is what the Foundation wants you to believe anyway. The file reads as follows. It has been reported that some victims of torture during the act would retreat into a fantasy world from which they could not wake up. In this catatonic state, the victim lived in a world just like their normal one, except they weren't being tortured. The only way that they realized they needed to wake up was a note found in their fantasy world which would tell them about their condition. Even then, it would often take months before they were ready to discard their fantasy world and please wake up. And of course, the significance of this is still being researched years later. Every time I encountered Herobrine in the game, there was an unavoidable sense that I was being watched, and not just within the confines of the game. It was almost as though there was a presence standing in the dark corner of the room behind me, so tangible it could reach out and put its hand on my shoulder. But that couldn't be possible, could it? The most common explanation for Herobrine in the myths around his existence is that he's the spirit of the Minecraft creator Notch's dead brother. Notch has, of course, vehemently denied that he even had a brother, a fact that he might even actually believe after all of the amnestic treatment the Foundation gave him following the first smattering of Herobrine incidents. Come on, it's hardly the most severe thing the Foundation has ever done to preserve consensus normality. But Herobrine was only one of the scary supposed myths of Minecraft that I encountered when playing the game as a junior researcher. In one game, while exploring the fiery basalt delta, I went head-to-head with an anomalous creature known to fans of Minecraft as Null. This frightening mob anomaly crawled in through the cracks of JavaScript, and I remembered it chasing me across plains dripping with deadly magma, psychically manipulating multiple weapons that it used against me. Superficially, Null is a featureless entity with the vague shape of a player character, except with a completely black body and the same white eyes as Herobrine. Null's ability to inflict damage has caused serious problems for Minecraft players, most of which have thankfully never actually encountered the real Null while playing. And those who have encountered the real Null often require immediate medical attention afterwards. That's because when Null inflicts damage on player avatars, the players have reported receiving cuts and bruises on their actual body. And while Null hasn't yet been connected to a lethal case, the Foundation has often feared that if he's left unchecked, it's only a matter of time before tragedy strikes. I experienced these wounds firsthand while battling Null, even when my avatar had diamond armor and a diamond sword, some of the most durable in the game. Luckily, before I sustained too many real-life wounds, I was able to use a few well-considered hits to knock Null back into the magma, where it quickly died. This so far has been the most effective method of containing the anomaly, the whack-a-mole method of finding and killing him anew every time he appears. It's undeniably not the most efficient method imaginable, but right now, it's the best we've got. On an even more bizarre note, there's the alleged killer bunny that's been cited in some servers. It's about the size of a regular rabbit in the game, but has an eerie red smear around its unusually pointy fangs. I'll leave to your imagination what exactly that is. Perhaps the result of some strange trickster entity, I encountered this creature while exploring the many woods and forests that Minecraft has to offer, only to be shocked by its aggression. The killer rabbit tore through the forest at truly anomalous speeds, slaughtering its fellow mobs in the shade of the trees. I hung back and watched the carnage unfold, a violence that seemed out of place in an otherwise all-ages-friendly game. A background check from my superiors revealed that the rabbit was never coded into the game. It was a strange, randomly occurring anomaly that appeared in servers to furiously attack anything unlucky enough to encounter it, almost like some amazing digital cryptid. And of course, after it had finished killing the mobs, it noticed me and attacked. Thankfully, the killer rabbit is, in tactical terms, a glass cannon. That means while it has impressive offensive capabilities, it has pitiful defensive specs. It's every bit as easy to kill as your standard in-game rabbit. Easily dispatching the killer rabbit with my diamond sword felt like a breath of fresh air after all the difficulties of battling Null. It also came with the added benefit of not leaving me bruised and bashed. Always a bonus. Seeing as the killer rabbit doesn't have nearly the same capacity of physical harm as Null, the Foundation's efforts have instead been focused on keeping its anomalous nature from becoming known to the public. In order to assure this, the Foundation has worked with Mojang to create a non-anomalous variant of the killer rabbit that could be added to any Minecraft server with a command. Then, when anyone was unlucky enough to encounter the actual killer rabbit, they would make the fair assumption that it was just another mob that somebody had spawned into the server for fun. Fun is the furthest thing from the next frightening thing I encountered during my Minecraft investigations. Well, unless you are the anomaly itself, which loves having fun at the expense of other players' misery. And yes, in this case I do say other players, because this isn't just some ghost in the machine. It's a vengeful Mojang employee who has since aligned himself with the Chaos Insurgency to enter the game and use anomalous technology to wreak havoc on others, making him, perhaps, the ultimate griefer. And he goes by the name Entity 303. This immediately recognizable player avatar wears a white hooded parka and seems to have complete mastery over the game and its code. He enters other people's Minecraft servers and wreaks terrible destruction for his own amusement, releasing frightening anomalous mobs. Some Foundation researchers, myself included, have even entertained the idea that he might have somehow been behind the creation of the killer rabbit and Null. But that's only the beginning of the potential damage he can do to innocent players just trying to have fun and be creative. On the more mild end of the frightening possibilities, those who have had their carefully constructed worlds decimated by Entity 303 have reported extremely distressing nightmares in the days and weeks that followed. Images of real-life mass destruction, warfare, natural disasters, mass slaughters, dreams that give their dreamers legitimate trauma upon waking, making them feel isolated and socially distant from their peers. On the more extreme end, there have been reports of Entity 303 making deals with players in exchange for not destroying their Minecraft worlds. These deals give Entity 303 a limited capacity for mind control over its unfortunate victims, often allowing them to commit highly destructive acts in the real world. The researcher that preceded me on the Minecraft case actually fell victim to this. They had to be arrested and given amnestic treatment when he tried requisitioning Foundation files on behalf of the Chaos Insurgency. Thankfully, my own encounter with Entity 303 was much more weighted in my favor, seeing as, at that point, other researchers had discovered its aversion to ender pearls. Using these pearls, I was able to force him out of the server I was in before he could engage in his primary anomaly effects. But there's one so-called myth that's more dangerous and frightening than all the others combined, and be warned, because once you hear about it, you'll never look at Minecraft the same way ever again. As my long night alone in the Foundation IT lounge wound on, I found myself experiencing a growing sense of unease. Understandable, really, given everything that I already knew was out there lurking beyond the blocks. And all of this got so much worse when I entered the Kane Mansion. I doubt you've heard of this particular Minecraft anomaly because chances are, if you had, you wouldn't be watching this video today. While exploring a server with a number of reported anomalous phenomena, I discovered the so-called mansion up in the Stony Peaks biome, a temperate range of stone hills far from the plains where most players would build their houses and forts. It did not, on the face of it, appear to be a mansion at all, little more than a cozy-looking hut made of wood and stone. Though my curiosity was piqued by a pair of signs outside that said, "Kane Mansion, you'll never want to leave." Things immediately took a turn for the strange when I entered the building, soon discovering that it was far more than the facade would have you believe. The player who'd built this place clearly attended the TARDIS School of Interior Design. The building was far more palatial on the inside. In a manner that recalled my studies of House of Leaves back in college, the interior dimensions of the building were far larger than seemed possible, given the dimensions of the outer walls. But this wasn't necessarily anomalous. In theory, a clever coder could achieve such a distortion of Minecraft reality. But it was still my duty while on the clock to keep exploring any potential bizarre sites in these flagged servers, so I explored further. The structure was built deep into the mountain, and I traced down an elaborate spiral staircase, lit by simple torch sconces down into the blocky abyss below. I had no idea just what terrible things would be waiting for me down there. I traveled down the staircase for a solid 5.5 minutes without event. I could only assume that the passage was so long to deter any players who weren't being paid to explore by a secretive organization, but seeing as I was, I wouldn't be so easily thrown off. However, as I got deeper, I began to experience a strange sense of unease. Perhaps you felt this way while playing Minecraft before. An odd anxiety that seems almost as though it's coming from outside of your body, being opposed upon you by some external force that's as unknowable as it is alien. It's a feeling that's been widely reported by Minecraft players over the years, and I can safely say that I felt it at that moment. Nevertheless, I persisted, and soon I'd regret it. At the bottom of the Kane Mansion staircase, I found what I can only describe as a ritual torture chamber, far outside what should have been possible in the game. It was a vast hall filled with large cages, each one packed with player avatars, but each one seemed old and thin, as though they'd been trapped in these subterranean cages where they'd been starved and tortured for years on end. But at the end of the gangway of cages filled with damned Minecraft souls was something that was even worse. It was a huge nether portal, except instead of the typical purple glow inside the giant obsidian square, the energy exuding out of the portal was blood red. When I entered the room, the portal began to glow brighter than before, and the caged players erupted into a chorus of pained moans. Everything in me was telling me to exit the room immediately, but my controls disengaged. My player avatar was stuck there, forced to bear mute witness to whatever was going to come out of that nether portal. And then, something did. Perhaps it was an Enderman once, the semi-infamous, intentionally spooky mob added as the nod to the Slenderman mythos, known for their eerie design and uncanny movements. But this wasn't the mere collection of polygons you could expect from a typical Minecraft mod. The Enderman that crawled out of the blood-red nether portal looked like something out of a photograph, a long, loping nightmare with coal-black skin and piercing purple eyes. It crawled out of the portal with unnatural fluidity, its body moving like a marionette with a drunken puppeteer. It loped and shuffled away from the base of the portal, moving directly towards my avatar, with an urgency that I could only describe as ravenous. I couldn't move. I couldn't select a weapon. My controls were completely unresponsive. But that feeling of invading anxiety heightened by the second, the kind of fight-or-flight mechanism normally reserved for real physical threats, not an enemy attacking your character in a video game. As the hyper-realistic Enderman was almost upon my avatar, I involuntarily reached for the kill switch and turned off the computer. Never before had I felt such a truly profound sense of relief. A voice from the speaker up in the corner said,
"Your trigger finger is a little too eager for our taste, Junior Researcher Bob. How can we expect to study and contain these things if you exit out before we can even begin our tests?"
I was sliding an excuse into the cylinder and preparing to pull back the hammer when the computer sparked back to life. But it was neither a continuation of the scene before, nor the blue startup screen that my computer typically defaults to after I hit the kill switch. No, it was that same swirling crimson that I'd seen below the Kane mansion. My monitor had the exact same configuration as the obsidian blocks. My screen had turned into a nether portal. I almost wouldn't have believed it until a lithe black hand with a grasping claw reached out of the screen towards me, stretching out and out and out. Falling backwards in shock and knocking over my chair, I scrambled back towards the wall to put some distance between myself and the monster lumbering out of my computer screen like some twisted parody of birth. I could feel guards trying to bust down the exterior door and get in, but it was no use. We were in the Enderman's game now. Once it was fully out of the computer, the monster shook the thin red liquid off itself and rose shakily to its full height. It towered over me, pinning me to the wall with its shadow. Its skin looked charred, its proportions stretched and unnatural, and from its lumpy, lopsided head, those piercing, amethyst eyes stared with deadly intent. As I cowered in the corner, it reached towards me, its hand fizzing and cracking with an aura of purple arcane energy. I couldn't say for sure what would happen if it touched me, but I knew instinctively to fear it. The same way the mouse fears the cat's jaws, and the housefly fears the sticky strands of the spider's web. It let out a terrible Enderman shriek as it prepared to grab my face, but it seemed that Notch was on my side that day. The guards managed to open the door in the nick of time. They trained their handguns on the thing and peppered it with bullets, knocking it back and soon reducing it to little more than a spray of dark purple vapor. A single emerald fell onto the ground where it was destroyed. I keep it on my desk to this day, as a memento of my first brush with death while working at the Foundation. That's the kind of thing you get a little sentimental about when you reach my age, which is surprisingly rare for an active duty agent at the SCP Foundation. I haven't been able to play Minecraft since that day, too many painful memories. But for any of you out there still mining and crafting to this day, a word of caution. Be sure to keep your wits about you while you're exploring strange servers. You never know what might follow you back out. Check out the DrBob Patreon and become a junior researcher today. Now go and watch another entry from the files of DrBob, like SCP-387, Living Lego.